Good, I'm good. Give me a second. Let me change.
Absolutely. You gotta kind of like to be come on the first time,
I
right?
know.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like,
yeah. I
wait,
wasn't ready for it. How are you, sir?
I'm so good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's Friday.
It is Friday for those who are, oh, camera change. Look at that. That's
Camera
nice.
change. Yeah, I got to keep everyone on their toes, you know.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
do
key.
know. I do know. Jacoby is actually, he is the director of sales at Exhale Atlanta in Midtown, which is a boutique full service spa. It offers holistic fitness and therapy services to its members. In his role there, he fuses wellness consulting along with leading membership generation, growth, and development. I think you had a previous career in some financial stuff before that, but this is his passion and an area that he greatly enjoys and loves. And actually, he and I have become friends. He he has been my teacher in my class several times, kicking my ass. So
Because I know you can do it.
right, because you do know like I can
Yeah.
do it. I'll share I've shared my goals with him, and he'll look at me and be like, "Homu, I know you've got goals. We can get you there. You just got to do the work, right?"
Yeah.
All right. So today, this topic specifically is about living out well. And so this is really about kind of having a healthy approach to living and experiencing life. I found Jacoby has a great energy, a great positive attitude, and he is a person who's done a lot of the hard work that I observe many individuals have not knocking anybody, but it's an intention one has to set and so I thought this would be really good for us to talk through and then encourage you all as part of this to continue with the Gala Impact down some other paths for living out well. So my first question to you actually is around how do you live out well? What is it that you have done that you feel like has been the work to create the space and environment where you can say that you live out well?
Yeah, good question. I will say it's funny that you mentioned this already, Helmut, but putting in the hard work. So I would say over the past, let's just say 2 years, we can round up to three, but I would say I've had to follow my pace. A couple different scenarios. Some of them were a little bit tougher than I was prepared for. There was no playbook for it, but those experiences had to force me into doing the hard work with myself. And it just became like a trickling effect where, the wellness overall was just, I was working on the wellness without realizing I was working on the wellness, if that makes sense. So, putting in extra time with myself by obviously working out, going to the gym, trying to eat a little bit better, but taking a little bit extra time about, redefining what my support systems look like, redefining, how I'm allocating my energy, what I'm allowing into my space to, kind of affect my day to day, and putting myself in charge more. And that is some of the hard work because you have to do some really deep diving, and I don't think it's one set playbook for anyone. But you have to find that balance of having those tough questions with yourself, figuring out those things that you don't like about yourself, how you're going to fix it, what is going to be the game plan, and really just asking a lot of those those questions that most people avoid, right? Because we don't like talking about that. But once you start to see small little inches of growth and changes in your lifestyle, and your wellness, and your physical appearance, and just your overall morale, you begin to want more and you begin to like chase it in a different kind of way. And everyone kind of looks at you like, oh, you're a health nut, you're a wellness freak. But, they don't know that I'm also, every now and then I'm ordering Popeyes, on a
Not
random weekend.
Popeye.
Popeye, because it's just like I'm also believing life is about balance. And I'm not here, just to, punish myself. It's like you have to give yourself trade-offs in life. And that's where a lot of the hard work kind of comes in. So I would say past 3 years had no choice but to grow inside and out. And I'm still growing, right? There's no like plateau that I'm at, but I think the problems or the issues that I'm at now in life are a whole lot different because I've had to go through some of those more difficult scenarios to kind of help me get here.
Now, one of the things you mentioned briefly there was, I think you mentioned social circle. I think you did social circles, your connections.
Yeah.
So you come to the place where you had to choose different company to move you forward in terms of your experience. Is that what I read between the lines there?
Exactly what you read. Yeah, your support system, which I think, and I stopped calling them like social circles and friends and all of that because I was using the word friend like so freely because it's just like I have this friends, I have this friends, like that's my best friend. Yeah, but the older I got, but also the more I was interacting with a different type of like growth opportunities within myself, I started to notice these people, there's certain ones that were just more than friends. They were actually a support system. They were lifting me up during times, but I was also lifting them up during times. And during those times, I'm learning a lot about myself. They're learning a lot about themselves. And, we're seeing like an organic partnership where it's just like those are the people you want to keep around you. And it's okay to still have friends per se, or, certain acquaintances or network connections that they're still in. I think I brought this up to you a couple of days ago, the theater analogy, but they're still in your theater per se. If you're imagining that, your life is playing on a big movie screen and there's a theater full of people and you're going through, your rows, who's on your front row, who's on the second row, and the folks on the front row have the closest view, right, to your life. So they're the ones who are getting that firsthand, reactions. Those are the first people you're probably calling with major life updates. And then you have, those folks on the third row, and then you have some folks that are in the balcony. Hell, we might have some folks that are outside, right? Just waiting to get in, they're still looking at the marquee, trying to peep around the corner, like, is there still tickets left? Can I get in there? But no, they're outside, right? So I think every now and then you have to, redo your seating chart for your theater. And, some folks that were at the front row at one point may have got pushed back. Some people that were in the back may get pushed up, right? So your theater seating and your support system, I think it follows you through your personal growth development as well.
Yeah. So the last part was we didn't talk specifically about it, but you shifted into this wellness area in terms of your focus, but that was out of another area. And I think that I'm basically just saying it for you. So that also choosing to be in a profession that aligns with what your actual interests are, I think is something you've shared with me before. So.
Yeah, and it had to go through sometimes where I was questioning myself, going through industry change. So, prior to this position I'm in now, I was working, did a couple of different positions on the financial side, from a financial advisor with a major insurance based brokerage firm, done some wholesaling at an independent, registered independent advisor. And it was let's say half of it, I was like, I am thriving in this per se because I'm fulfilling the things that makes Jacoby go, that sparkle that gives him life. Is, being in the meetings and just not only just doing sales, but the consulting and, feeling the need of like, hey, people need you for this. You're doing a service. But on the downside, I really was lacking a personal self-fulfillment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Only one-sided. And it had to get to a point in a certain couple of different, scenarios of being in it where you have to, again, ask those tough questions where, do you really want to do this? It's cool, it's flashy, you get the title, you get to go to these, dinners and you put on a suit and you shake hands, you kiss babies and you do all that. But it's just like, am I really happy, doing this? Am I getting a whole rounded experience? And I wasn't. And so, when I came over to Exhale, and I, got a little bit more deep into the development and the growth and, understanding more about this company. And, our saying is your well-being is everything. And it truly is because, we create facilities and atmospheres that we want everyone to come here. We want them to feel safe, but we want them to, find their well-being, whatever that means for them. We want to be sure that we're offering, all of these different amenities that can help you grow, evolve, and elevate. And the more I got more involved with that, the more I was like, okay, I'm starting to see.
It's working.
I'm starting to see it. I'm trusting the process a little bit more each day. But once you finally get into a position that, you're able to combine your hard skills, your soft skills with, also self-fulfillment, you kind of start moving different. And, I had to take a pay cut, but it was a trade-off. Again, it was something like, okay, what do you want really in life? Because that what factors into your well-being, right? So that's where what I had to go through to get to where I'm at now. And I couldn't be more excited about, the future, what we have planned at Excel, and as we continue to grow and I continue to work on myself as well.
So you talked about future, and one of the concepts I think we talked about was the negative beliefs, right? And how negative beliefs versus future can play out in happiness. What is your philosophy around this, and how does it play into keeping happy?
I'm a big believer that, perception is everything. Your perception plays a huge part in how you actually going to tackle things in the world. So negativity is a curse, but it's also realism, right? Because we're human. And I think understanding the basic laws of human behavior and going back to, our primal days, like we have the wirings and the chemical balances in our mind where that risk management, that fire, hot, is always going to be there, right? Because that just takes us back to our caveman days. So I think we need to continue to hold on to a level of, caution. But I think also there's a thin line between caution and negativity. So like, are you being more negative or are you just being realist, right? And so being more on the negative side after time just begins to weigh on you, right? And you begin to kind of close yourself off more, and then you start to see the damage on your physical appearance and a little bit on your health. So I know it's easier to say like you just got to be positive, especially when random people are just like, why can't you just be happy? And it's just like that's not that easy these days. Like, I mean, look at the world around us, but also when it comes down to negativity, it's like, okay, well, what are we doing about this? So that's where like the trainer in me comes out. It's just like, okay, enough talking about it. It is what it is. What's next? What are we going to do about it? Because that's how we got to start reversing the negativity, is actually getting a game plan. Because your perception, again, is going to kind of paint that roadmap to where you need to be going in terms of your happiness and your growth and your development. But excuse my French, but one of my favorite, sayings is, you gotta stop bitching and start pitching eventually, and if you don't, you gotta get off the bench.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I think we had one of our other podcasts. We were talking about sort of the state of being and kind of calling out your mantra when you wake up, and sort of
Yeah,
using
yeah,
that tool. But really, that's just a tool to do what you're saying, which is to basically
mhm,
project the possibilities of today, the
right,
possibilities of tomorrow, as
right,
opposed to the negative story of those repeating themselves. So.
yep.
Now, we were talking a little bit about our bodies and living well and choosing health, and you were talking about a plant, and I kind of wanted to talk about, yes. So what was our analogy here for our bodies and our plants?
Our bodies and our plans. Yeah. So I am a proud plant dad, and I will say
Hey, wait, a
uh,
what? A bioplant dad? Did you
a
say?
proud plant dad.
Proud plant
We
dad.
didn't add the bio in there. I'm not a botanist or anything, but yeah, you can say I've learned a lot about these things over the past 3 years. Again, this growth and development of my own personal wellness plan over the past like 2, 3 years, I've gotten more involved with plants. But what I was saying the other day is I think a lot of people should be plant parents, because it is, for me, a reflection of how my plant is doing is a reflection of how I'm taking care of myself. So you can't see the full size right now, but it's a white birds of paradise, which is one of my favorite plants. They're very easygoing, but they're vibrant and they create character in any space, your home, restaurants. It's just these big, bold green leaves, and they just continue to grow. But they're also very obvious when they're not being taken care of, and because they turn brown, like most plants. But because the leaves are so big, they get burnt and crispy and all that. But
They do,
if you
they do. I'm looking at mine, and I
you
was
do,
reflecting on how it absolutely is true, because I had shifted, and for a little, for about a month, I wasn't taking care of my plants, right?
and how was that? So what were you doing in that month? How were you like in terms of your wellness? Like
You're
where were
right.
you?
I wasn't, right? Because I wasn't creating the rituals that allowed me the time to go, oh, how's my plant doing? Right?
How's my
They're not like, it's not like a dog. A dog, right? A dog will bark. A dog will let
right?
you know, right? Or a cat will let you know when you are neglecting them, when you're not
Exactly,
feeding them, right?
exactly. Or a child. I mean,
Yes. No, well, that's
anyone
a
that's
given.
listening that's
So,
a parent.
yeah, the
And
three
yeah,
kids. Yeah, yeah.
don't compare your plant to your kid if you are listening and you have kids. But I will say that yeah, it's so interesting because it doesn't speak and it doesn't give you those signs, but I think that that's a great analogy to like your subconscious and you know those internal things inside that's happening that we don't want to address or we're just keep you know putting on the rug and then you start to see it more and for me it's when I if I'm going on a trip or something and I come back and my suitcase is still like I'm living out of the suitcase back home in my apartment like 2 weeks after I got back or you know the dishes are not getting done and the plant's starting to get a little dry and brown and crispy. If all of those things are happening at once, I know that that's my way of saying, okay, Jacoby, we need to check in with ourselves. We need to get a pulse. We need to figure out, you know, where this trauma response is coming from because our head's not clear, because our physical environment is not clear. The plant is dying. It is not well. It's not being taken care of, which means you're not doing what you need to do for yourself. And so, with that being said, yeah, I highly recommend everyone get a plant.
Yeah, no, I know. It's funny because I'm laughing to myself because I'm like, these are truly, I actually think it's wonderful that this happened as a result of the pandemic, right? So I remember seeing all these different plant dads, particularly in the gay community. It was like
Yep.
boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, gay men be posting plants galore, that and the dogs, right? Like people were getting dogs like crazy, and then they were getting plants. But it focused people outside of themselves into sort of thinking about other things and how they're connected to them. And I think your analogy is absolutely correct. So I bought like 6 plants about 2 years ago, and they're all still with me, which is actually already an accomplishment. Okay,
That's
I
huge,
do
man. That
children,
means you're doing well yourself, Helmut.
right?
That's
I'm doing okay. I take care of myself. All
yes.
right, so let's talk about another one that I thought was really a good thing to share. So you and I are both actually single gay men living in the city and doing our best to do that with grace and with style. And I thought maybe you might have some wisdom to share with people about how your single life, how you roll, what choices have you made to honor yourself and to build the best potential experience for yourself.
Hmm. I would say in terms of the personal dating life, in that I would say recently it's been focusing on not lowering my standards and not settling because doing that before in the past, you kind of start to, in a dramatic way, you start to sell your soul a little bit because I think especially in the gay community, we try to chase these voids. Not always, but you know, I think there's a lot of you know childhood trauma or upbringing trauma because of the untraditional upbringings and the untraditional lifestyles that we have. As we get older, we begin to search for you know that sense of peace that you know like we're normal too. So you get so deep sometimes trying to find that sense of closure and that security that you kind of start to get tunnel vision and you can easily find yourself going down some paths that you're kind of like, is this really what I want? But it's giving me everything that I think I need right now, right?
Mhm.
So going down that on 1 or 2 instances, I think two was enough. After the second time of, you know, dating someone, I was thinking like, what are we doing? You're like, this isn't me, this isn't you. I don't think we're a good match, but we're trying to, it's like a puzzle piece. You're trying to fit something into a piece that just doesn't work. But you want that closure and you want those voids filled, right? And it's a lot of it has to come down. And for me personally, it had to just accepting who I am, you know, being a double minority, knowing that it's not going to be a traditional, you know, dating life for me. But with that, I I should not give myself the right to, lower my standards in terms of expectations, what I'm looking for in a partner, in terms of, wellness, how they carry themselves, etc. And learning to feel comfortable being with myself. Like
Yeah.
that's been the biggest thing with that, because I don't want to just find someone just to find someone. I don't want to be out here, having intimate, relationships or partnerships with someone just to do it. Our bodies are, especially the more I continue to train my body, mind as well, like they are a temple and they're very unique. And you can't backtrack a lot of the progress that you put into it as you continue to pour into your wellness. And so your standards continue to go up as you develop yourself. And I think as those standards go up, your personal, your dating life and what your expectations, they go up as well. And that's kind of where I've been. And that's probably why I'm still single. But I'm okay with that. It's because I'm now, like I said, I feel comfortable with it. And I think if more men, gay, straight, whatever, like find your peace with what you're comfortable with. And then I think apply that into your dating life as well.
Yeah, I so 150% believe that that's true. The time of being single is about the time of being able to elevate yourself, do the
Yeah.
work, right? So what you attract at a certain time, if you haven't worked on yourself, if you haven't improved your behaviors, if you haven't chosen better, you aren't going to attract better.
Yeah. You,
You literally
come on.
aren't what you're seeking. So you're seeking something that is not you, right?
You
You're
can just
seeking
start to like run into a circle and then it's just now your plant's dying.
something.
So it
No,
all comes back full circle.
now, in that vein, I think we had said that, particularly as you think about encouraging other gay single men, what are your thoughts on the traditional areas of bars, apps, porn? Like, how do those things? What would you advise a younger gay man, maybe 5 years younger than you, in those areas? What would you encourage them towards?
I would say just be cautious. I think that no one can tell you, there's no playbook for any like path of life that we take, despite how many mentors you have that are, closely related or aligned to, your sexual preferences or whatever. It's all about experiences, and everyone has to go through their own experience. So I would say just be cautious of what you decide to partake in, and be sure that you strengthen your level of self-awareness over time with each experience to know when your spidey senses need to be going off, if that makes sense. So if you're on an app and you're about to meet up with someone and just something in your gut or something inside of you is kind of like saying, maybe that's probably not the best idea. Maybe I don't need to, go to this person's house or something. Like listen to that. That again, those are your primal instincts that we carried over from our ancient ancestors that still are in the back of our heads that are telling you like, you know what, that's that risk management. Something about this maybe not be the safest option. Why am I truly like chasing this right now? What is this void that I'm probably trying to fill? And not to say that that's that, because again, also we're human and we have needs and pleasures in terms of intimacy is something that makes us who we are, but also at the same time we have to be cautious of those decisions. So if you want to go to the bars or whatever it is, do that, be on, like have fun, partake and drinking if you're doing that. But again, like always be on, like still keep your self-awareness and just be mindful of it. And then I say note these experiences. I'm a huge journaler. I have mine in front of me right now. Like my coworkers see me and it's just like I like writing and I like,
Okay, writing. Okay.
yeah, I like my words out of my head. I like to see them on paper. It's just therapeutic for me. But write your experiences. Do whatever you need to do to make sure you're not making the same mistakes. And again, just be cautious of that. When it comes down to the porn, I think you and I kind of talked about it. Honestly, same concept. Like if you do you have fun, but just make sure you're not teeter-tottering in the red. Know when you're going too far in terms of your vices. because I think it's a delicate dance to easily cross on that path of, oh, I'm just doing this to have fun, or I'm just going out meeting some friends or going to this bar, to, oh my God, like I'm doing this to escape, I'm chasing this, I'm running from this, you know? And again, so I think the self-awareness has to strengthen over time with your experiences, but don't also live under a rock, because that's not a life to live as well, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think what's interesting about these things is that, you know, the society we live in, we're happy to be able to have the right to
Yes.
engage in any one of these things, right?
Yep.
And they all have their proper place, potentially their proper amount of exposure, right?
Yep.
But too much of any one of these things can lead you to a place in which you are giving your power away, or you're giving away, right, your value,
Yeah.
or you're developing a habit, right? You're developing a habit around app for hookup culture, bars that might be alcohol or drugs, porn and sex, right? And you're skewing the lived reality of where you really want to be, right? And the ultimate goals you have.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how much of living out well is about the brain. Again, we go back to sort of having the mental construct to have the discipline, to
Yep.
have intentionality, and behind the intentionality is having the mindset, the being, the right. Who is who is Helmut becoming? Uh, who is any one of us becoming? Right?
Yeah.
As you think about it, right?
Yeah, and those are some of I think some of those are the tough questions that more of us need to ask ourselves on those checkpoints. And I like to look at it, and again, just comparing to, what my fitness journey has been over the past, 5 years, where I really, really like cracked down and started taking, my fitness, I was to an intentional level, right? And, not just working out just to work out, but doing it with a goal, doing it with a plan, and seeing how it affects me and my overall well-being. But if you just look at like cardiovascular and metabolic profile, I think it's a really good analogy that we can compare to your own personal growth. And that's speaking from experience of watching, my personal metabolic profile, strengthening over the course of years, just from runs and, sprinting, and like seeing that I'm able to do more because I pushed myself. And, the human heart itself, like most of our other, organs, it's designed to be highly adaptable, but you have to train it. If you don't train it, the heart, like many other organs and muscles, you will eventually lose them, and you'll probably lose them at an earlier age because you didn't keep moving, right? You didn't train them. And so me personally, I feel the difference in, my lungs, and my heart when I'm running now. My breath work has adapted, my heart has adapted to sustain more pressure, more intensity, and I now communicate, mind and body differently when I'm working out because I've adapted to it, right? So what if you apply, this basic human analogy and physiology, you applied it to your own personal development planning as well? Following your pace, get back up, adapt, grow, learn. If you think about that, that's what the human body is designed to do, right? Inside and out. And you have to put in that work. You have to do that. So that was my Exhale fitness plug, by the way, everyone who's listening. So if that didn't motivate you, I want you to come in and maybe ask some questions about our memberships. I don't know what else does, but
I will, I will say this as well. So for those of you that are listening, you can check out, it's not up at the time of this podcast, but it will be at the time of the masterclass. Check out thegaileyimpact.org. We will run and continue to run Live Out Well engagements, where you can learn about different products that support the discussions we're having, as well as different offers from organizations like Exhale and others. So yeah, I I think the other part of this conversation, it kind of in respect to the fact of age, we had some really good conversations earlier about the spectrum of age in our community. I think it's important to say that this opportunity to engage in your health and to live out well. We talked about how, number one, it's mental. So I don't think that ever goes away, right? The only thing is, as we age, I think we can come up with more and more excuses. So if we think of our age as, well, I just can't do that because I'm now 73. Well, you can still do what 73 can do, right? And there's a lot more activity you can do. Take a walk, take the extra time, as long as your health, as long as you have it, you want to keep it,
Yep.
right? And
Or you'll
so,
lose,
huh?
or you'll lose it.
Right, right. And so I think that mental game doesn't ever go away. I can say that at least at 40, you have all kinds of excuses you can do in your 40s where you're like, well, in my 30s, I could do so many other things. And I imagine that only continues
Yeah.
throughout life paradigm.
Correct. Yeah, because again, the human body is designed to continue to grow and to elevate, and it is designed for us to push it to new levels and to new heights. But most people don't, because most people, they, like you said, they settle, and they get caught up in the day to day, and other priorities begin to take, a bigger picture, and, their wellness and their health and their fitness begins to take more of a backseat, where all that really means is your balance needs to be, reallocated. Your energy needs to be reallocated. There's always going to be a way. We're always, going to be tired. We're always going to be busy. We're always going to, kids are picking up from this. You're going to be doing so many things, but if you don't prioritize your well-being, then what are you doing?
Yeah,
What's
no,
the
it's
point?
true. I will say the happiest times of my life, I have been moving, right?
Yeah,
I have been in some kind of moving regiment, and it's not always been crazy weights and stuff. It could just be that I have my regular walking times, routines in the
right.
morning, and then I'm taking that extra time to do those things that honor my body, eating well, right, sleeping well, and then the rest flows, right? The rest flows from that. So it's almost like establishing, giving your plant some water, right?
Yes, give that plant some water. And I love that you said sleeping well. I'm a huge advocate for rest. Like that is, people know me, they know that one of my sayings is, sleep and rest, it's our superpower. And, I'm not myself when I have not fully rested the way that my body, now that I know what it needs. And I was in the spa earlier today, and talking to my director, and she could tell if my energy is just like, if I'm being honest, no, I didn't get as much sleep last night as I should have. I went to an event, but like my body knows, it's just like, hey, we're not going to be able to be the 100% Jacoby today because you didn't pour back into us. And we now, like, I know that because my body and I are on the same page now, where we communicate based off of the progress that we've made. And when I haven't gotten that sleep, I'm not myself. I'm not going to be probably the most, bubbly person and all of that. It's a little bit toned down. But again, sleep is part of the wellness plan, and I don't think enough people are also prioritizing that. So I'm happy you brought that up as well.
Yeah, that one is definitely a hard one for me. Meaning, like, I'll be like 6 hours. I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
And not to say that 6 hours, because also like everyone's body's different, and as we do continue to age, you don't need as much, the same 8 hours, 7 hours as you would need when you were 30 or 40. That's part of the human physiology as well. Whatever your body needs, again, because that's how you have to get in tone with yourself and your body to know what does your circadian rhythm look like for you, where it is maximized so you're being the best version of yourself, on the outside.
absolutely. Woo, so much to do, but actually, what a joy it is to learn these skills, right? And to really hone them.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you so much, Jacoby, for talking with me about how to live out well. I know that there will be many that are blessed by the dialogue. And again, encourage you all to check out thegaleyimpact.org and check out our Live Out Well program. Thank you,
Nice.
Jacoby. Have a great rest of your day.
You too, you guys. Thank you so much, Helmut.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so very quickly, I want to share with you all another really great opportunity that sits in front of us that is out on film. Out on Film has a LGBT it is an LGBTQ film festival. Actually, it's a great one that can nominate films for the academies, and they have a mini fest going on March 19th through 21st. So I want to make you all aware of that. You can get tickets. You can also donate to support them. And if you're watching this later, I would just encourage you to check out what they've got going on. Queer storytelling is so important. The stories that we tell become a very important part of shaping our movement forward. And I strongly encourage you to check out on Film.